So this guy is very fidget friendly, right? So the way it works, you push the button and you don't just leave it pressed. You have to push and let go, push and let go, swing your hand, and it opens, push and let go, and it folds shut. Now, I will say this, right? Let me address the elephant in the room here. So you have two same-cut siblings here, because again, they're part of the same company. And the thing about these guys is they have multiple deployment options. Hello and what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Miguel. You're watching Miguel EDC. Today we're going to be reviewing this guy right here, the Civivi Elementum, the button lock. This is the OG button lock. There's now a new version of this guy, which is called the Civivi Elementum Button Lock 2. So it would be like combining the OG Elementum and the button lock Elementum, and then putting all into the chassis for the original one. So we'll have like a button right here. But this is the OG Elementum. This is the OG Elementum button lock, which is a larger knife, as you can see. So let's jump right into it here without further ado. So this guy has one deployment option, and that is this button right here. That is the only deployment option that this guy has. It does have black G10. I kind of went for this all blacked out version, right? Everything's blacked out. The hardware, the clip, the blade, the liners, the scales, right? And so there's lots of, I want to say, pros and cons with it being completely just button lock deployment only type of knife. Before I get into that, it does have a 14C28N blade, just printed right there, really tiny. I doubt the camera is gonna even pick it up. This one is in all black. In typical Civivi fashion here, I'm trying to avoid not sneezing in the middle of the video. In typical Civivi fashion, you have a deep pocket carry right there, and yeah, that gets the job done. Very similar to the deep pocket carry on the original Elementum, right? Similar to the one in the Ordis. You can kind of see a resemblance right there, right? Very, very similar pocket clips, and I mean, that's for a reason, right? They get the job done. See, unlike the Civivi Elementum OG, where you have a lanyard hole, on this guy you have this mechanism here in the back, which is very similar to how they did it in the Ordis, right? So you have just that one bar right there, and then you could just pass your lanyard through it, right? So it's kind of interesting that they kind of went with that design instead of the lanyard hole on the original Civivi Elementum. I want to give credit to the fidgetability. There's your new word of the day. So this guy is very fidget friendly, right? So the way it works, you push the button and you don't just leave it pressed. You have to push and let go, swing your hand, and it opens, push and let go, and it folds shut, right? That's it. Simple as that. So you want to push and let go each and every single time, and then you get an action that looks like this. And by the way, when that knife is locked, there is no other way to open the blade except for pushing the button, right? Except for pushing the button. So that's something else you want to keep in mind with this guy. So you could carry this guy whichever way, right? That blade is not opening, and the chances of you hitting that button in your pocket are going to be slim to none, right? Because it definitely requires a certain level of pressure right there in order for you to be able to, get it to disengage the blade, right? And you can kind of see it for yourself. So if I put it at an angle, push the button, you see the blade just swings out. That's a good thing about it, right? Very, very fidgety. I love EDC in this guy for the time that I have, and also look forward to EDC in this guy every single time as part of my weekly, monthly rotation. I also would carry this guy for, let's say, a special event, or maybe if I'm going to somewhere where I'm, wearing a suit or what have you. Yeah, this is a very gentleman knife style knife, right? Because it's all black, very slim, right? The whole aesthetics of a gentleman knife, you got that all here with the button lock. Now, I will say this, right? Let me address the elephant in the room here. So you have two same-cut siblings here, because again, they're part of the same company. And the thing about these guys is they have multiple deployment options, and that's my only gripe with the Civivi Elementum button lock, right? It's the fact that you can only open and close this guy with the button, and that's fine. And there's a lot of, again, fidgetability with that, which is great. and a knife is not a toy, you know, and all that blah blah blah. Great, fine. But for people that do enjoy, you know, a nice fidget knife and whatnot, right? The Sencut Crawley, right, gives you the option to still use the button lock, so you can still do the, you know, button opening and close just like the Elementum Button Lock. You can flip, right, just like the original Elementum, you can flip it open, which is still nice, right? You're probably saying, okay, Miguel, where they just put out a Civivi Elementum Button Lock 2, which has the button and the flipper. But then on top of that, the Sencut Crawley can also be thumb deployed, right, which I don't think that new Civivi Elementum can, right? Thumb deployed, and maybe not on this one, but same deal with the Saxy. You can also, a fourth deployment option would be to reverse flick, right? So you can do that with the Saxy too. So I got 4 different ways to reverse flick, right? Thumb deployment, the flipper, and you always have the button itself, right? So a lot more options with these two, right? These two are up there and probably the most fidgetable knives. Let's even throw in the CJRB Pyrite. Look at this guy, right? This guy does not have a flipper, still has a button, right? But on top of that, you have thumb deployment. So you could also thumb deploy it and you can reverse flick it all day, every day, as long as your index finger doesn't get in the way. But yeah, right there. So again, multiple deployment options. This should probably be a whole different video right there talking about fidgety knives and things like that. But you get the idea, right? I just wanted to drive home the point that what this OG button lock from Civivi on the Elementum was missing is multiple deployment options. And again, that's just a personal gripe of mine. You know, it might not be an issue for you. You may be just fine with that, right? You know, it might not bother you all that much. So with that in mind, I did mention earlier, it is deep pocket carry. When this thing is on your pocket, there's nothing showing whatsoever. And because you get it in all black, the clip is also black, and so it doesn't really call attention all that much. I want to say this guy is probably, or it's going to be a little bit, whoa, a little bit handle heavy for sure. But yeah, the balance is about right there, a little bit behind the actual button itself. That's where it's balanced. So this is a drop point blade shape, very similar to the original one, of course, right? That's what makes an Elementum an Elementum. And so the same thing I said on the Elementum review still stands on this review, right? It's the fact that if you take every single blade shape of every knife out there, and you take every single handle shape of every single knife out there, and you kind of average them all out, right? You're probably going to end up with a design very similar to, very vanilla design like the Civivi Elementum, and that's not a bad thing. That is not a bad thing, because for everyday tasks, right, when you have a knife that is this good looking, right, this ergonomically friendly, right, you definitely cannot go wrong, right? As you can see here, I can get a full 4-finger grip. There's plenty of handles still showing, no issues there. Yeah, questionable to forward choke on it. There's no finger choil here. That's a sharpening choil, so I wouldn't recommend that. And I want to say, you know, my fingers are well out of the way of the button, and you know, I wouldn't see myself pushing the button in any way unless I, you know, intentionally wanted to. That blade is rock solid in place. That blade is not going anywhere. So this is a very, very solid lock. And the way this works, if the camera can focus, right, notice when I push this button, look what happens to the blade. Right, you see it there? And then as the blade opens, right, this disc slides into place. Boom, and that's what locks the blade in place. Right, push the button again, right, you get the idea. We of course have to do the customary paper test here, right? So let's see. All right, look at that. Even after weeks and weeks of EDCing, right? That is one thing that there are no questions about with EDC. That is one thing that there are no questions about with Civivi knives, right? They come super, super sharp out of the box, right? Right, and especially if the faster you make the cuts, the better, right? Look at that. All right, that one is all my fault because I caught the sharpening choil there. I'm running out of paper here, trying to give it a good cutting angle, but you see, it's getting the job done. getting the job done for sure. And then keep in mind, guys, this is weeks and weeks after, you know, EDC and this guy and making daily cuts. Obviously, I'm not gonna cut a tree down with this knife. I'm doing daily tasks like, you know, cutting cardboard, opening boxes, letters, you know, daily tasks around the house, cutting a rope here and there, stuff like that. But yeah, it's definitely retaining a really, really good edge. All right, guys, so that being said, let's do a quick summary on this guy. Again, we have 14C 28N steel. We have this all black design that I went for with black G10 handles also. The liners, everything. Liners are mill. They're all black also. Deep pocket carry in black as well. It is a button lock and a button lock only. That is the only deployment. So love it or hate it, you know, that is the only deployment method this guy has. Honestly, though, I've grown to enjoy and love this guy for what it is, right? I like the fact that, you know, unlike some of the other guys, sometimes when I swing my Saxy or my Crawley here too much, the blade might want to jump a little bit, and that's because these blades actually don't lock in place. The great thing about this guy is that the blade isn't going to jump at all, right? Once the blade locks, it's locked for good. It's not going anywhere, right? Because it's locked in place and it doesn't deploy at all unless you push the button a second time. So that's definitely a great thing. Again, I like the longer size of the knife overall. Makes it EDCing it more comfortable than the OG Elementum for sure. I could definitely appreciate the extra length. I think the Civivi Elementum OG though kind of gives those folks that have more stricter laws and whatnot the ability to carry a knife that's under 3 inches of blade, whereas the button lock here, this longer size version, right, is going to be a little bit bigger obviously. So check your local laws. I'm not an attorney, right? Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. If there's anything that you guys think that I'm missing, any feedback, any additional questions, concerns, anything like that, please let me know in the comments. I would love to answer any questions you may have or take any feedback that you may have for future videos. By the time you're seeing this video, by the way, chances are the Civivi Scintilla, this little guy right here, right, the review for this guy is probably already live on the channel. So if that's the case, I'm going to put a card right here for you guys to check that out next, right? Again, thank you so much for sticking around to the end. Love you guys. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.